Put on your war paint. Time for the most requested album review of the year so far right here on Album Review TV. Save Rock and Roll, the new studio album by Fall Out Boy. The band was on hiatus from 2009 to 2013. Glad to see Fall Out Boy back in action. The first taste we got of the album was My Songs, Know What You Did in the Dark, Light 'Em Up. It's been very successful for the band. It's been certified gold. The Phoenix was the second song released, and it just upped the ante that much more for what I was expecting from this album. It's got such a diverse range of instruments going on in this track. A lot of outside influences on this and Light 'Em Up. When talking about the album, Pete Wentz was saying things like, there's so many hip-hop influences and that sort of thing, and it's just a little bit of everything we were listening to, a little bit of indie, a little bit of rock, a little bit of hip-hop, and it's all over the place on the album, and that really does shine through. You've got something like Young Volcanoes that could be an indie type song. It's kind of acousticy, and you've got that. Then you've got The Mighty Fall with Big Sean that just really showcases the fact that hip-hop has always been in Fall Out Boy's veins all throughout their career. It's been shown really since 2007's Infinity on High with collaborating with people like Jay-Z, and now it shows up again here on Save Rock and Roll, and in a good way. It's got a monster guitar riff that's just so groovy, and it's easy to get into. I want to get up and move when I hear this track. The guitar is just absolutely wicked. It's something that I would have loved to have seen more of throughout the album Save Rock and Roll, the electric guitar that is. I feel like they use acoustic a lot, and while that's cool and I love that I can still actually hear the guitar, I would like to see some electric guitar riffs come crashing in more often. The vocal sample sounds so trippy on The Mighty Fall, and I love that. It's just so hip-hop oriented, but at the same time with that guitar riff, the two blend seamlessly. Big Sean delivers a great verse, honestly one of the most solid I've heard him do yet, and it fits this song. I don't know what it is, but I absolutely love his part, and I'm glad they included him on this album. It was one of the guest spots that I was a little bit worried about, but I think it really worked out. It's one of my favorites on the record. Now, speaking of guest spots, there's Courtney Love, Elton John, Foxes, and of course Big Sean, like I just mentioned. And all of the guest spots are actually done quite well, except for the Courtney Love one. Just doesn't feel right to me. I'm not a huge fan of Courtney Love. I was never a fan of the band Hole that she was a part of, so that's just me. But I absolutely cannot stand her opening intro to her song Rat-a-Tat. It just sounds ugh, and then the whole "it's Courtney bitch." I'm just like, ugh. Really? Why was that included on this album? Rat-a-Tat is not a bad song by any means, but she kind of ruins it for me. The song, it's saved, I guess you could say, overall by its very strong chorus, and I actually like some of the lyrics that Pete penned for this song. Let's talk about the instrumentation on this record. Like I said, I would have liked to have seen the guitars get turned up a little bit more so Joe can show off more of his talent, but I feel like that kind of got put on the back burner along with some of the drumming. Andy doesn't really get to show off his skills. There are some tracks where it actually does come in, but for the most part, the drumming gets very poppy, and like I said, it doesn't show what Andy can really do. I like that they have a diverse range of instruments. You're going to hear everything from like a tambourine, you're going to hear that in the sample on The Mighty Fall, you're going to hear that, you're going to hear an acoustic guitar, electric. There's just really a little bit of everything. You're going to hear a string section at times. It's very interesting to see all the influences they pulled together for this album, and they recorded this album in secret, pretty much away from the public, away from critics, that sort of thing, on purpose so that they wouldn't have people constantly looking over their shoulder, checking in on them. How's the album? When's it coming out? That sort of thing. So when they did announce it, it was just this huge thing, and I think that really worked out for them in the long run, and has, spoken of their commercial success that they've seen since their return. This album feels a little bit less personal than some of their past records, and it doesn't seem like they're writing about, personal experiences and that sort of thing. And I miss that at times, but, sometimes there are some cool things that they're writing about. Now, one song that really does get honest and a little bit more emotional is Save Rock and Roll featuring Sir Elton John. Love this collaboration. His piano skills are epic, and I love the way his and Patrick's voices sound together. I love that Patrick really gets raw and emotional here on this track. But on Save Rock and Roll, the title track, I love how emotional he gets as he says, "So fuck you, you can go cry me an ocean and let me be." I don't know, it just comes off sounding very powerful to me, and it's just pretty much yelled during the song. Everything about this track really just makes it the perfect closer for this record. It's different, but it's not too different. It doesn't really feel like it would alienate anyone, any of the fan base, and I think it's the great closer for this record.
But John, they've changed so much, it's awful.
Yeah, Fall Out Boy's a lot different, so, you know, accept it. Fall Out Boy has constantly been evolving throughout their career, and I feel like songs like Young Volcanoes are more traditional Fall Out Boy, if you will, but who's to say really what traditional or old school Fall Out Boy is, because really they've changed from record to record, and that's just been a part of them for as long as I can remember. Yes, their earlier records did sound more similar to each other, but they were always really progressing. And while Save Rock and Roll is by no means my favorite Fall Out Boy record, I can respect that they're always trying new things. Young Volcanoes is one that I'm kind of on the fence about, along with Miss Missing You and Rat-a-Tat. Those are probably my three least favorites, honestly, on this record. Maybe that, and of course, Where Did the Party Go as well. Miss Missing You, for me, sounds a little bit too eerily similar to Goldfield's single Dark Again, and I want to go ahead and dive into my favorites on this record. I already talked about The Mighty Fall and Save Rock and Roll. Those are definitely two of my favorites. Let's go ahead and jump into the first single, My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark, Light 'Em Up. This song is irresistible to me. I cannot stop listening to it. Every time I hear it, I never skip it. It never really grows old to me as the listener. I don't know why, but this track just has everything that I enjoy about a modern alternative song. It's got a little bit of outside influence, aka the hip-hop vocal sample type thing. The drumming and the guitar, it's not quite at the forefront, but I still hear it and it's still there, and that's enough for me to absolutely fall in love with this track since its release. The Phoenix is my overall favorite on this record, I would say. I love all the influences that come in and make up this song. I like the sense of urgency that the song really just brings. It just makes it sound quite epic and makes it the perfect opener for this record. Love the lyrics on The Phoenix. The guitar sounds very James Bond 007-ish to me in the background of the chorus, and just adds that much epicness to the track. Just One Yesterday featuring Foxes is another one of my overall favorites on the record. Honestly, at first I thought Patrick at the beginning of the song was about to break into a cover of Adele's Rolling in the Deep, but I actually lost that feeling as soon as the actual song kind of got started. The background sound of this track is very poppy at its roots, but I love the fact that the bass kind of stands out to me on this track and really grabs my attention. Patrick's voice gets soulful on this track and blends perfectly with Fox's background and backing vocals. Death Valley is another one of those more traditional type songs I was talking about, I guess if you can call it traditional, but really overall it's a lot more diverse than anything they've released in the past for the most part. The guitars are alive and well on this track in particular, and Patrick delivers one of his most solid vocal performances on the entire album. I actually like the kind of techno and electronic-y, dubstep-y breakdown part of the song, and yeah, it sounds a little bit cheesy upon first listen maybe, but I think it kind of fits in with the feel of this album as a whole. Young Volcanoes is the last one I wanted to talk about. It's something that really sounds like it might belong on a movie soundtrack, honestly. It sounds like they're playing it safe to me. It's got a bit of an indie feel to it, like I said, some acoustic guitar and piano, but I'm just having trouble getting into it as a whole. The drum clap outro was a nice touch, and it'll probably get stuck in your head more than anything else, whether you want it there or not. Overall, the album is solid, but suffers from a lack of consistency and being unable to make itself memorable at times. The standout tracks really stand out and above the pack and away from the rest, but the ones that don't just kind of get lost in the dust, I guess you could say. As a whole, the replay factor feels moderately low for me on this record, and I want to know what you guys thought. Of course, let me know in the comment section down below. This is one I really want to hear back from you guys on. For me, personally, Save Rock and Roll 3.5 out of 5. So let me know your opinion in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching Album Review TV. Beyond the reviews, always check albumreviewtv.com for more.